Have you ever watched a BBC documentary so normal, so familiar, that you didn't even notice the narrator's voice, until something strange clicked in your mind later? Something felt softer, warmer, almost musical, not quite British, not quite American, but something comfortably in between. What if I told you that this unexpected shift wasn't an accident, but the result of a quiet influence spreading across the world, an influence that began far away from cold studios in London? It began in a place many people never connected with global media, the Philippines. Thousands of islands, countless languages, and one voice that slowly started shaping the way millions of people hear English today. For years, nobody noticed the change. English was still considered the language of the West, owned by big networks and powerful countries. But the world changed. People migrated, cultures blended, businesses expanded across continents. And suddenly English was no longer just British or American. It became global, and among all those global voices, one voice stood out, not because it demanded attention, but because it felt naturally comforting. Filipino English, clear, friendly, and warm, began slipping quietly into everyday communication. It started with call centers. Millions of people in the US, Canada, Europe, and Australia heard calm voices helping them solve problems late at night. They didn't know these voices came from Manila, Cebu, and Davao. They didn't know the tone they were hearing would one day influence global media. They only knew it felt good to listen to. While the world wasn't paying attention, something powerful was happening. People began preferring this softer, neutral style of English. Something about it felt human. Something about it made conversation easier. Something about it stayed in their ears long after the call ended. And that was the beginning of a global shift. To understand Erlinda's power, we must look at the history of English in the Philippines. English arrived not by choice, but through colonization, first Spanish, then American. It became the language of government, business, and dreams. Filipinos could have resented it, but instead, they transformed it. They blended English with the melody of Tagalog, Cebuano, Ilocano, and more. The result? A softer, more musical English, distinctly Filipino. American teachers, the Thomasites, were surprised by how quickly students learned, but even more by how differently they spoke. Filipino English became polite, respectful, and less direct, reflecting a culture of harmony. It wasn't a copy, it was a new creation, born from a complex history. Today, the Philippines is one of the world's largest English-speaking nations, but it's not American or British English, it's Filipino English. With its own accent, cadence, and character, it's a testament to Filipino creativity. This language carries the story of its past in every gentle syllable. It's a tool for global connection, shaped by resilience. Filipino English is more than a language. It's a legacy. It's the sound of adaptation, survival, and hope. And it's changing the way the world communicates. In every word, you hear history, and the promise of something new. What makes Filipino English unique? It's not just the accent, it's the tone. The rhythm is musical, the intonation gentle, making it easy to understand. Clarity is a hallmark, no sharp sounds, no mumbling, but the real difference is warmth. Filipino English is inherently polite, filled with respect and humility. Sir and ma'am are used for everyone, creating comfort and safety. This is communication that builds bridges, not walls. The combination of clarity and warmth is the sound of empathy. Filipino English doesn't just convey information, it conveys care. It de-escalates tension, builds trust, and makes listeners feel valued. Think of Erlinda. Her voice wasn't just words, but genuine concern. This is why Filipino English excels in caring professions. It soothes, heals, and comforts. Empathy isn't an add-on, it's the message itself. The world is starting to notice, this sound isn't just pleasant, it's effective. Filipino English is becoming the language of connection. It's a style where every word matters and every word is kind. In a noisy world, empathy stands out. Filipino English is proof that how you say something is as important as what you say. And that's a lesson the world is eager to learn. In the early 2000s, call centers exploded worldwide. Companies needed English-speaking agents, clear, patient, and affordable. India was first, but customers struggled with the accent and scripted calls. Then they discovered the Philippines. Filipino agents spoke clear, melodic English, naturally polite, and empathetic. The industry boomed. Manila, Cebu, Davao filled with call centers. Agents learned to say, "I understand your frustration," and truly mean it. Filipino English became the friendly voice for global customer service. This wasn't just about jobs, it changed perceptions. Companies began to request Filipino agents for their warmth and clarity. The call center industry proved Filipino English's commercial power. It became a global asset, not just an accent. The world learned that empathy and clarity win hearts and customers. Filipino English was now a brand of trust. The call center boom was just the start. Next came education. Countries like South Korea and Japan needed English tutors who were patient and encouraging. Filipino teachers became the top choice. Online academies hired thousands, connecting tutors with students worldwide. The real strength? Building confidence, not just teaching grammar. Filipino teachers coaxed shy students to speak, praised every effort, and made learning joyful. Their gentle, affirming style was a revelation. Students felt safe to make mistakes and grow. Schools in Vietnam and Thailand now hire Filipino teachers for their soft skills. The Filipino teacher became a global brand, empathetic, effective, and inspiring. From call centers to classrooms, Filipino English was expanding its influence. One student at a time, it was changing lives. The world was learning. Encouragement is the best lesson. As media globalized, a new accent emerged, clear, neutral, and accessible. Increasingly it sounded like Filipino English. Documentaries, YouTube channels, and podcasts began featuring Filipino narrators. Their voices were gentle, musical, and easy to understand. Media producers chose Filipino English for its friendly, non-threatening tone. It didn't carry the baggage of colonial power, just clarity and warmth. Brands used Filipino voices to sound modern and helpful. The world was drawn to this new standard of communication. Filipino English became the voice of global citizens. It was the sound of trust, intelligence, and approachability. The media world discovered what call centers and classrooms already knew. Filipino English is the new default for clear, empathetic communication. It's the voice of a connected planet. And it's here to stay. Filipino English is inseparable from Filipino culture. At its heart is pakikisama, harmony, and getting along. This shapes a communication style that's polite and non-confrontational. Another value, kapwa, means seeing yourself in others, creating deep empathy. When a Filipino nurse speaks, she's speaking to her kapwa, not just a patient. Respect for elders and authority is ingrained, hence, sir and ma'am. This humility makes speakers approachable and trustworthy. Listeners feel acknowledged and respected. The gentle rhythm of Filipino English is more than an accent. It's a reflection of community and empathy. Every word carries the value of connection. The language is a vessel for these cultural values. It's what gives Filipino English its unique power to comfort and build trust. In a world craving understanding, this style stands out. Filipino English is more than words. It's a way of being. It's the sound of respect, empathy, and community. And it's exactly what the world needs now. Back in Riyadh, Erlinda kept talking to the prince. One day, as she spoke of home, his finger twitched, the first sign of life in months. The family believed it was her voice that called him back. Filipino English, full of warmth, became a legend in that hospital. This isn't just one story, it's happening everywhere. In Japan, a Filipino teacher helps a shy student speak. On a call, a Filipino agent turns anger into gratitude. In hospitals, schools, and offices, Filipino communication is making a difference. Companies now seek not just skills but empathy and connection. Filipino workers deliver these in abundance. The Filipino accent is no longer foreign. It's the sound of global service. It's the voice of care, clarity, and compassion. The world is listening and wanting more. Filipino English is becoming the accent of hope, and it's changing lives, one conversation at a time. The rise of Filipino English is a quiet revolution. It's not about replacing other Englishes, but adding a new valuable voice. In a divided world, its warmth and empathy are a powerful antidote. As Filipino creators, teachers, and professionals gain influence, this style will spread. Clarity and empathy will become the new global standard. The story of Filipino English is one of transformation, adopted, adapted, perfected. It's proof that the most powerful changes begin with a quiet, respectful voice. The world is listening to nurses, teachers, and agents who connect with kindness. The Saudi prince's story was just the beginning. Filipino English is writing a new chapter in global communication, and its gentle rise has only just begun.